Welcome to the Gotham Outsiders, our Batman book club. Planning tasteful holiday-themed crimes, I'm your host, Batman obsessive Chris. And seducing Bruce Wayne with his leafy body, my co-host TJ. TJ, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Hi, everyone. I am your Chris proclaimed Batman acolyte. And with us today, we have comedian Gianmarco Soresi, who just had a comedy special come out on Amazon Prime. Gianmarco, how you doing?
I'm good. Hello.
Hello.
So, what is your relationship to Batman, Gianmarco?
Um, we're acquaintances. I definitely know. I grew up with all the things, so definitely part of my childhood was the Mr. Freeze Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I had an uncle in the one with Jack Nicholson. Who was Batman for that movie?
Michael Keaton.
I was going to say,
Michael
Tim,
Keaton.
what?
Okay. Yes. So one of my uncle is an actor, and he had a line to Commissioner Gordon, like, "We need to call the Batman."
Oh, I love that.
Oh, I just watched that movie
yeah.
last night by coincidence.
That was something about like the way Jack Nicholson, they died with a smile on their face, really disturbed me as a kid. Like, it was exciting but disturbing. He was a good villain. So I've seen all the Batman movies. I've read a couple comic books over the years, but for whatever reason, I grew up in Maryland, and comic books were not super popular. I was more of a manga kid. Um, like everyone, I did like the Pokemon card craze.
Yeah.
But after that, I like stuck with it, and I got into Akira and Ranma One Half.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, Ranma One Half is like, so I did Shonen Jump, and I was really in it for a bit, and then I got to a point where I had to start paying for shit, and like, those comic books, they would cost $10 for like a book and you'd read through it in 20 minutes. So I kind of miss it, but like reading backwards feels very natural to me, comic book wise, because of all the Shonen Jump. And I think I maybe read Spawn growing up. For some reason, I read those comic books, but that's about it in terms of Batman. I'm not super familiar with like what universe is this. I don't.
That's fair.
I could tell you DC versus Marvel. Like, I could tell you what's in what, but other than that, that's about it.
So you're acquaintances and you're ready to take it to the next level, is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah.
And you just had a special come out on Amazon Prime Video. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian in New York, and like everyone, my life was deeply impacted from coronavirus.
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
Now it feels like the world is shutting back down again, but people start doing outdoor shows, socially distanced outdoor temperature checks, if that helps at all. And I decided to record a special of all kind of new jokes I had written this year. It's called Shelf Life because a lot of the jokes will become dated, hopefully, once this vaccine comes out. And I just kind of wanted to capture the moment of what it is to be a creative atmosphere, and then get something out of these jokes that I had worked so hard on. Because normally, as a stand-up comedian, especially when you're not famous, you really want to write jokes that are super evergreen, because it could be maybe in 5 years you'll get it on TV. But in this case, it felt kind of absurd to do shows and not talk about coronavirus, and not talk about the world that was going on, and not talk about Trump or the election.
Right.
So this was my way to kind of make writing all that topical material worth it, was to just release it's about a half hour of jokes with a little documentary at the beginning. And I'm really proud of it.
Well, I just watched it the other night and I thought it was hysterical. So if you're listening and need a good laugh, go check it out.
Thank you. Yeah. First time Jeff Bezos is going to lose money this year, I think.
No.
No. And so the book we're talking about today, Chris, what is that book?
I Am Gotham by Tom King with art by David Finch.
And Gianmarco, how did you hold up with this read?
It was really good. I did this not to pitch Amazon too hard, but it was free with my Amazon Prime membership, and it was really I had not read a comic book on my phone, and I was really impressed with they basically move the panels in a way that like adds a little bit of drama to them. They know exactly kind of where to focus, how to do reveals.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was much more enjoyable than I thought it would be, because I was like, the phone's too small to read this thing, but it did a good job of it. So
yeah, I think we've read about half of ours on our phones, haven't we, TJ? At this point?
Yeah, I read most of them on my phone. I have a physical copy just in case, but I'm bougie like that.
Is there any information with regards like what timeline this Batman is, what version of Batman this is?
Yeah, I can give us a little bit of that. Yeah, TJ is not the one to ask.
Chris is so glad you're asked that question.
Before we do, I have some trivia for us before we get into it. So you should know that TJ has never won this trivia.
Never won. I went out of my way to find someone that knew almost nothing about Batman to see if I could win.
Yeah, he still lost.
Hi, Gianmarco. No, it's Gianmarco.
Wow, TJ!
I'm just kidding.
Making fun of me, and then you do it wrong.
He's here because he made a funny tweet, and I liked it.
All right. Well, so this first question in our trivia, you could use the knowledge you gained from this comic or possibly from the movies to answer. How many weird objects from the Batcave can you name?
How many like gadgets?
Whatever weird objects there's all manner of weird objects in the Batcave. How many can you name?
I definitely remember in this book there was a gigantic Tyrannosaurus Rex.
There sure is.
In one panel, and I was like, what is that from?
That is always there. Yes.
Is that always there?
Yes, Batman, much like a serial killer, keeps trophies. I don't know what to make of that.
So who did the dinosaur come from?
It's been there so long I don't remember. I would have to look that up. Someone's mad at me for not knowing off the top of my head. TJ, you remember any?
Yeah. So like, does the Batmobile count?
No, that's not a weird object. That's his car. That is his car.
Does it have to be from this book?
No, you can name ones that you know from the movies if you remember any.
Well, I know he keeps like mementos, like his mom's necklace and like a playing card from the Joker.
There you go. There's a giant one. I think it was in this one too.
Honestly, I wasn't looking for this type of stuff when reading
That's fair.
This one, so I don't think I could name any from this particular book.
Okay.
So I give up.
Okay, there's a giant penny.
Oh.
Did either one of you see the giant penny?
No.
Like a statue of a penny?
It's like a penny that's like the size of the first story of a house. It's ridiculous.
Oh my god.
So maybe it's a real penny.
I missed that.
They're all from past cases, but those two, the dinosaur and the penny, have been there like for so long at this point.
Nope, this was the first time I done seen a dinosaur in the Batcave.
Oh, I feel like we haven't, in the past books we've read for the show, we haven't seen the Batcave very often.
That's true.
Weirdly enough.
Is this the first time we're reading in the Batcave?
I think it was in the Long Halloween for about a panel.
Okay.
But no, we really haven't been in the Batcave for any of the stories we've read so far, which is wild. Well, I was going to say I would also have accepted Robin's, the dead Robin's costume, which gets thrown in this issue, which I think is a weird thing to have in your cave. But yeah, so I only did 2 questions today. So, and since our guest is not a Batman acolyte, I decided to do a creative one.
Okay.
So it's going to be whoever comes up with the best. We see a lot of D-list supervillains in this one. There's just a bunch of cameos from really terrible villains. So my challenge to you two is, who thinks they can come up with the worst D-list villain for a Batman comic?
Oh gosh, Gianmarco is gonna win this one.
Really? You mean one that's in the?
No, I'm saying create one. Just make one up.
Oh, create one. Oh.
I feel like you're more creative than I am.
I feel like it's the guy that cuts in line, man.
I like it.
I'm gonna go to what my mind went to first, and when we talked to Justina Ireland, we talked about Hot Dog Man as like the sidekick
Or
of
Condiment King.
oh yeah, of Condiment King, whatever the hell his name is.
Condiment King's a real villain.
Okay, and we're like, I think jury's out on if Hot Dog Man is actually real, but if he's not, I'm creating him right now.
I don't think he's actually real, but I love that. I love it. But I'm gonna give it to our guest because that was great. Cutting in line, man.
Thank you.
That was good.
So I actually think this trivia ends with a tie.
Yay, we tied.
Yay! There you go. It's like the presidential election. We'll contest it, recount.
we have an ongoing thing of me saying this is rigged. And
he does. That's true. Every
now
time.
It's just 2 on the nose.
Welcome to our brand new segment, Bat Cute, where we discuss when we have met the authors of our comics that we're reading. So this time around, we were talking about the time that TJ and I met Tom King.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I remember this.
I think that's fair. At that point in time, you I don't think had read anything by him, or maybe you'd only read Vision. I don't remember.
Was this the Heroes in Crisis?
Yeah, this was Heroes in Crisis, which, side note, I still have not read.
I haven't either.
We should do that at some point.
I think I still have the issue because he signed it and I was really excited about it, even though I knew I wasn't going to read it.
Exactly. We should definitely do that at some point. So we were at the American Library Association conference. I think it was the first one we went to together, if my memory serves.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and I didn't know any other author that was going to be there particularly. I ended up meeting a lot of lovely people, but at the time, the only person I was excited for was meeting Tom King because I had just read Mr. Miracle, which remains one of my favorite ever arcs of any comic. And he was at this time still writing Batman. Yeah. So we go up to meet him. And because I knew I was going to meet Tom King, I was dressed in all this Batman gear because I'm me. And he starts chatting with me and he was really lovely. I will say he was very personable. He took a lot of time with everybody. But he leads with, "Who's your favorite Robin?" And I go, "Well, Tim Drake." And he looks at me askance and is like, "Tim Drake? Wow, that's basic."
Is this the guy that asked me? I think I went up and I said, "Oh, I haven't read this." I might have even said I don't read much DC, and I said I like X-Men, and he said, "Oh, well, who would your X-Men team be?"
Yes.
Was that time?
I think so. I was still recovering from being called basic by one of my favorite writers. To be clear, though, I would like to point out the story's not in there because he calls me basic for liking Tim Drake. And I'm thinking oh, he must like Damian or Jason, right? So I was like, okay, well, who do you like? And he goes, Dick Grayson, as if that is not the most basic choice.
Yeah, I think he was trying to be cute with everyone and asking them a question like that, which is how I got the X-Men question.
I think he was trying to be cute, but he got so weirdly defensive so I told him in response because I was quite offended. I was like, "I'm sorry, Dick Grayson is way more basic than Tim Drake." So yes, I did get in a kind of a verbal argument with Tom King at this con and had to just eventually be moved on by the assistants because I was like, "How dare you, sir, pick the most obvious answer and call my answer basic?" But truly, he was very fun. It was hilarious. And he gave me a story that I like to retell pretty frequently because no other Batman writer has ever called me a basic bitch, basically.
And at least next time, I can back you up because I'm a Tim Drake fan now.
Exactly. All right. But let's get into the meat of I Am Gotham.
The meat. All right, so let's just start off. What did you guys think of this book? Did you like it?
I did. It's they're really leaning into the metaphor of Gotham. They're they're talking about Gotham. They have two people named Gotham. They're really milking this city metaphor for every last ounce.
They sure do. Yeah, I loved this one. I remembered loving it. I had even more fun with it, I feel like, the second time around. How about you, TJ?
I had a roller coaster of of a reading experience. So I thought the first issue was really hard to get into because of the choppiness of it. And I realized that's a stylistic choice, but I thought it was hard to follow. So I was kind of off to a weird start. And then the couple issues after that I thought were fantastic. Like Batman almost dying, like that actually struck a chord with me. Like it
Mhm.
made me emotional. And then of course seeing him like save Gotham as a kid, I liked that. But after that, I feel like the story completely just lost control of itself and it never recovered.
Oh,
I
interesting.
know. So I'm
I'm,
curious to hear all of your guys' opinions.
yeah, I'm curious where you think it went off the rails, so I guess we'll have to find out.
So in the first issue, we get introduced to Duke Thomas, who
Yeah.
I thought was Lucius's son, but he's not.
We've talked about the Batman comics problem with having characters whose names are so similar. So Lucius's son is Luke. This is Duke. Kind of
Oh
how
no.
there are multiple Kane families in Gotham and they're not the same family.
Also, Duke and Luke are both black, and
Yeah, I know. What are they doing?
They're trying to trap you. They're trying to trap you. And they're like, nope, no, no, that's not the same. I think
they're
that's
the
what it
same
is.
age or they're really close to the same age too. Like it's so frustrating that they did that. It was like, did the two creators of these characters not have a conversation at any point after, like, while creating the characters? Honestly.
yeah, I didn't realize till almost completely done the book that Luke Fox was a completely different character.
Right, because you haven't read any with Duke Thomas yet at this point.
No, this is my first time ever reading anything with Duke Thomas.
And as if it wasn't confusing enough, his last name is Thomas, and then they call him that most of the novel or most of the comic, and then randomly they'll talk about Thomas Wayne without ever clarifying which it is. So there were multiple times I was like, "What? Oh, we're talking about the father now.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
Why? Why?"
What did you guys think about the art? Because I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think my bar is probably pretty low. I can't imagine reading any comic book and going, oh, the art in this, that barely looks like a bat at all.
I'm just a snob, I guess.
No, I thought this
I
art was really lovely, so
I
I'm
did
with
too.
you.
I think, like, especially as I said, coming from a manga background, there's a real wide range of like quality of art with manga. And in general, it seems like American comic books are all pretty detailed. I guess not all of them, but no, this is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, this was lovely. I think this is one of my favorite artists of the ones we've read so far.
As you can tell, I didn't enjoy this one a
The
lot.
first one? You mean the first issue?
Just this book in general. I said like I'm not the biggest fan of it. So halfway through reading this, I was like, you know what? I wonder if Gianmarco is like finding this a lot more humorous than I do.
No, I found this whole. I think what I was interested is like it all felt very kind of religious to me in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I don't know whether this is the running theme of Batman. You can tell me. It's kind of like addressing. You know how people, the problem of evil in
Yeah.
philosophy,
Yes.
where yeah, it's like, so if God exists, why is there evil? Why is there pain and suffering? And
Yeah.
like that seems to be like what Batman is about, where it doesn't talk about God, but it's just like there's suffering, but
Right.
I bear it because, and that's where it doesn't really answer the question. It's like I bear it because Gotham is me and I am
Yeah.
Gotham. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's one answer to the question.
It's
Um,
yeah, there's a weird element. It is, by the way, it is pretty much the theme of Batman overall. And there's definitely a weird element of Gotham is especially the worst place. Like if you as soon as you
yes.
enter it, you're very likely to be murdered by a supervillain.
Well, it's supposed to be like Chicago, right?
Yeah, but I swear Chicago's not like
I'm
this.
just kidding. Not the Chicago I've heard about. We must have heard about different ones.
Oh, okay. It's a different universe.
The South Side. I've watched Shameless. I know what happens there.
I just love there's an ongoing joke in the fandom that like how if you see Gotham and Metropolis, they're supposed to be side by side cities, like right beside each other, but Metropolis is like sunny and beautiful, and you pan over just slightly and it's like dark shadows and gothic buildings and like what is happening here?
There's a comedy club in New York called Dangerfields,
Uh-huh.
and it just closed. But it had kind of like, it used to be this very prominent club in New York, and it really let itself go. And one of the things they started bragging about is they got featured in The Joker. Like they were the club that they filmed all the stand-up scenes in The
Oh
Joker.
no.
Wow.
And it was like, that's a weird thing to brag about, because you're
Right.
like, we were the comedy club featured in the movie about the most dilapidated city in the entire universe. That was
Right.
us. That's our
Right.
place. They had to clean it up a little just to make it look better for Gotham.
Oh gosh, you know there's tons of fanboys coming in there now.
Oh
Like,
no, there definitely is.
we're
Well,
n-
it
we're
closed.
we're not
It closed, so
fans.
not enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But back to your religion theme, Gianmarco. I think that's a good take on this one, just because it's all about like Batman's up against fighting a god, basically. So like, it ties in together.
Yeah.
And Two-Face, I mean, this is more, my knowledge of Two-Face more comes from the
Mhm.
movie again, but there clearly is this thing of Batman of like people who were good
Yeah.
and now are evil, and or who were so good that they saw that it's all bullshit, but Batman's like, no, it's not bullshit. It's me, Gotham, and it's all, we are bullshit, and that's beautiful too. And that's
That's
like,
real.
it's the same trajectory that, is his name Gotham Boy? Is that right?
Just Gotham, which is
Just
so
Gotham.
annoying.
And then his sister's name is
Gotham Girl.
Gotham Girl.
They
Okay. All
tried
right.
so
Well,
hard with those names, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, what's your name? New York City?
I know.
Oh, well, that's taken, I
Tom,
guess.
Tom King really did it when he turned in the script and his editor went, "Here's my keys, go fuck my wife."
I guess I assumed it was supposed to be shitty, which was also what I assumed about their costumes. I was like, I guess they're like just made by these kids. So
Yeah, like to me they were supposed to be corny and
yeah,
like, I feel like they did what they needed
they
to.
were sufficiently corny. Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing the electric bat ears, did anyone else get a kick out of that?
What did they do again? They,
Why do I not
So,
remember this at all?
yeah, at the beginning,
Oh, we're talking about the thing with the spores. Oh, yes.
yeah, he has like a little like electricity thing go in between his bat ears on his helmet.
Amazing. He turned into Pikachu for a minute there. It
Yeah,
was
I thought it was
great.
funny.
Is that so? I mean, I this is not the kind of science I do. Can you electrify spores? Is that a thing?
It's
It's
a
like,
thing, apparently.
how did that make them stop being poisonous? I'm so confused.
Don't question it. Did anyone else think Bruce was in the shower? Because
oh,
Can
when
we
he
talk?
was
Yes,
doing the
this
pull-ups on the thing.
yeah,
it looked like it to me too. I definitely thought that's what it was for a second there. I was like, why is Lucius in his bathroom?
yeah, like I was kind of let down when it panned out and showed what was really happening, but like it was still giving the gays what they want.
I know. What an intro. It's like, let's see him for the first time in this run. Oh, here he is doing a pull-up off the side of his building. Okay, Bruce.
Yeah, and Lucius is there. So that's why in my mind I was like, oh, okay, like his son, Duke. But
Yeah.
no.
No, that's Luke, and Luke isn't in this one. I don't feel like Luke shows up much in this run. So, you asked about the timeline of this. So Tom
Yeah.
King's Batman run is the second part of what is called a rebirth, which basically is that DC every so often and more lately, like pretty frequently, reboots the whole universe, sometimes with a reason, sometimes barely with a reason, so that people can start from the beginning of a new story. But every time they do this, they include like half of the stuff they set up in the last universe and get rid of half of it. And you just have to kind of figure out which stuff is still canon, which is fun. Um,
That's wild. So there's always like one going on at a
yeah.
time. Like there's not four different lines
Um,
in one
so
year.
well, Kind of. It's okay. The DC is a mess. Let's just be clear. But yes, that's kind of what's happening. There's usually like an overarching what's going on. But that said, Batman is the main character of multiple different runs that are supposed to be happening simultaneously. But often, if you're like, what, how could they possibly be happening simultaneously if you tried to read them all?
Sure.
But technically the same universe, yes, except that just doesn't make sense how he's in all these places at all the time.
Right. Like, for example, we see Calendar Man near the beginning, and we just recently read a book with him in it, and he was just some normal dude that like had a fetish for clocks. But
That wasn't
in this
exactly it, but yeah.
in this one, he's weird as hell.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he always has had those powers. They really just weren't explored at all in that other one we read. But I don't know. I don't remember the whole like dying and getting born again thing that kept happening in this one. That was interesting.
Yeah, he was like an arm came out of his mouth. I've stick an arm in my mouth, but don't have it come out of me. So the kid on the plane, like,
yes,
I thought, I was like, well, we found the next Robin. Like,
right.
he fits
That's
the
because
form.
I was gonna say that's because he was a tiny, dark-haired child with blue eyes, so you assumed Bruce was gonna adopt him.
Yeah, Batman loves orphans.
Especially if they all look exactly the same.
So have either of you watched the Supergirl TV show at all?
I've seen the first season.
No, I haven't seen it.
All right. Well, in the pilot, there's a scene where a plane is crashing, and basically Supergirl makes the decision to like out herself as a superhero to save this plane. And in my mind, I was like, oh, okay. Someone saw the Supergirl pilot and was like, Batman could do this. Here's how.
I love how Batman stops this plane by basically straddling it and then riding it like a horse.
I mean, who hasn't been there?
About once a week, you know? What a wild thing to do. I also really love this part because it's specifically, he's like, wow, I'm Batman. I can't stop a plane. I guess I'll call Superman. And he gets an automated message, apparently. Which I want to know, does Superman just have like a phone line, first of all, that people can call? And then second of all, does he have a automated message just for everyone? Does he have one special for Batman? I really need to know this.
Well, you guys, I mean, the Boys is really interesting on Amazon because one of the big, do you mind if I say a slight spoiler for it?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Like one of the big scenes is there's the main superhero who's like the Superman of their world, but he's famous and beloved, and they try to save a plane. They realize once they get on there, like when he kills the hijacker, he accidentally ruins the plane, and he basically leaves them all. He leaves them all to die, and he doesn't care. He's also like evil. He's the bad guy. He's very callous about it, and he could save some of them, but he can't fix. So it's just a really interesting reversal of the plane trope of the superhero saving a plane, was him letting it go.
But no, like I thought this issue that we're on right now is probably my favorite. It was just Batman was like really cool. It was very emotional, and then we get that reveal at the ending with Gotham and Gotham Girl, and I just thought it was a really good reveal.
In my ongoing quest, TJ, to get you to ship super bats, I loved this bit where the plane starts lifting and he's just like, Clark, it you?
Just Bruce being like, Dick's such a good teacher, as good as I ever was. Like, tell the boys, blah, blah, blah. So
he has a pre-recorded message to send to all the Robins, apparently, which I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was sweet.
It was sweet. And poor Alfred having to listen to that and be the last one, he's potentially the last person he's talking to. That was really sad. I've got to also, since we're talking about Alfred, I've got to mention my favorite thing in this whole run is how savage Alfred is.
He was very funny.
So funny. This is the part where Batman's like, I've got to stabilize the plane. And Alfred just goes, waiting on your stability, like usual.
Mental stability.
Yep.
I wonder like how many times Alfred they've had this conversation. I mean, how many times does Batman think he's going to die? And Alfred's got to say this speech of like, your parents would have been proud. Like clearly, like this is not his first run at the final words to his friend.
No, obviously not. And like he's had like if he's had enough time to pre-record messages, he's used to this. He's ready. Which
It would be funny if one day Batman's just like, when my parents be proud of me, and he'd be like, I told you this last time. How many times stop being so needy, Batman? Yes, they're still proud of you.
I mean, no, when he's like, is this a good death? I did roll my eyes a smidge. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, can you calm down?
Well, I was upset. It had
I
me
mean, it
going.
was too. I was moved by it. It was just that particular line that I was like,
Right.
okay,
Like it's
buddy.
ridiculous because we know he's not gonna die. So next we have Solomon Grundy shows up, who's like a uglier Hulk, basically.
This villain, I love Solomon Grundy. This is like the second time we've seen him, I think.
Yeah, we also saw him in the Long Halloween recently.
Yeah, he's this poor guy. He's like not really even a villain. He just destroys things when he's told to, and he's like, "Okay, I'll destroy a thing," which is what happens in this one again. And you're just like, "Aw, poor guy."
Would he be one of the D-listers you were mentioning earlier?
He is. I don't know that he's quite a D-lister because he shows up too frequently. The D-listers I'm talking about are still coming, and they're the ones that Gotham Girl fights randomly at the end of this.
The pirate guy.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I wasn't even talking about him. I'm talking about the two random cameos, but the Psycho Pirate. What a name! Wow.
Yeah, I had no idea who that guy was. My next thing that I wanted to talk about was that, so the book starts off with Duke Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, Batman's getting a new sidekick. He's black. That's awesome. Like, I want to learn about him. I want to see him do stuff. He literally says, I'm going to train you. And then the next issue, he is like, oh, here's these two white sidekicks. Let me take that one instead. And then Duke just gets completely sidelined. It was bullshit.
I know. Duke gets sidelined so frequently in the Batman comics. It's really sad because he's actually very fun. So at some point we'll read the ones where he's the main character, which there's one called Batman and Signal, which is him as the main character. And then Batman and the Outsiders that just ended, he's the main character of that one as well. But in a lot of the main runs, they'll be like, oh, yeah, remember how Duke's a main character in these other side comics? We're not going to talk about it.
Well, it was bullshit because that's what I wanted here.
I love him. I love Duke. He's so wonderful. So what's going on with Duke at this point is his parents have been, attacked by a supervillain because they live in Gotham, and they are, currently getting mental health counseling and stuff to get over it, basically. And so he's living with Bruce. He moves in with him at the beginning of this. But before this, he was running around as Robin on his own because he decided that Robin was more interesting than Batman, and he starts a club of Robins. And so there's a bunch of them. So this is why at the beginning he's kind of like, Robin doesn't need Batman. I don't need you, because he's been being a superhero on his own for a while.
Jim has a really funny line that was about wearing a mask and like, oh, it must be itchy. And I'm like, oh, Jim Gordon would be such a Karen during the pandemic.
I thought about that too. He has like multiple lines about it too. And I was like, Jim, oh no.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to handle wearing a mask.
Did coronavirus happen in the current Batman universe?
It hasn't. I haven't seen it show up in any comics yet, but it should at some point. Comics production got slowed down for a while there, so everything's a bit behind.
Right. Yeah, I think they stopped releasing some for a few months. So like they're probably still releasing the ones that they were working on before COVID.
Yeah, they are.
It would be cool to see Batman just punch people not wearing a mask.
There was some art going around somewhere on social media that showed Batman and other characters like wearing a normal mask over their superhero mask.
Yeah. I think that was fan art though, wasn't it?
Probably. Or like it might have been someone that works on the books drawing it, but it wasn't like official artwork.
No. There is a Batman fights a pandemic run that we could read at some point.
Oh, that sounds appropriate.
Batman Contagion, if anyone's curious.
I don't know, like I'm curious to see what those characters would do in our situation, but like at the same time, people use these books as escapism. So like, I don't know. I am curious to see what they would do.
I love Jim in this book. My favorite Jim Gordon is I'm too tired for this bullshit Jim Gordon.
So then we get a Hugo Strange reveal near the end of this issue, and it was a misdirect because really behind it is Amanda Waller, our third black character in this book that does nothing.
I think they're setting up that she's going to do something in the next part of the story, though.
Right.
But you are right. She doesn't do anything in this story.
And this one,
You
I'm just
wanted
like,
more Amanda Waller.
I'm like, why is she here? Like, I hate her guts, but she's a good villain. So like, I felt like she was wasted.
I have so many questions about Amanda Waller's continued belief that you can employ supervillains without them betraying you, despite every time she does it, they betray her.
Right. In this one,
so she's the responsible for Suicide Squad, and continues to do the Suicide Squad plan of let's hire them. It'll work out this time, and every time it doesn't, because obviously.
I feel like she just looks stupid in this one. She's like, whoops. Whoops, they betrayed me. Who would have thought?
It's so bad. It's such a bad idea. It's such a ridiculous plot line that keeps happening.
What did you guys think of I thought it was a flashback at first with Gotham and his parents in the alley. What did you guys think of that part?
Wait, I'm pulling it up. I have it in front of me. What happens with his parents again?
So there's a scene where it kind of looks like Batman's backstory, where it's in the alley.
Yeah.
But then it's not. It's actually Gotham's backstory, because apparently they have the same backstory. And the only difference is that instead of the parents dying in that moment, Batman comes in and just goes, no, which is my favorite. He's just like, nope.
Why are these parents always walking down these dark fucking alleys? Like the crazy alleys I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, let's take this shortcut.
I mean, even Alfred is at one point later in the comic, he's recounting the conversation he has with Thomas Wayne, where Thomas asked him to raise Bruce if he dies. And he has this moment where he's like, it'll be fine because it'll never come up. It's not like you'd walk down a dark alley and get murdered.
Now this is back to my religious thing. Like, So this was like this young boy's moment where like Batman was God, or Batman was good, Batman was goodness, and then like he follows this righteous life, and obviously when it turns to shit, I mean, it's all religious to me. Once his parents are killed, he's like, God is dead. You're not God, Batman. You're just a man, and I'll be you now. And like the moral of Batman is like, no, but you just gotta believe. Kind of,
but also not, because there's like one moment later on when Gotham's like, you can't save Gotham, which is, confusing, because I think he's talking about the city in that moment, not himself. But Batman's like, yep, I know. What do you mean you know? What are you doing?
Yeah, I liked that part. Just to me, it was like he knows it's a hopeless mission, but he still does it because it needs doing, and he's the person to do it. I don't know.
It certainly is a theme that, so I guess it's worth talking about Tom King as a writer here, because it's certainly a theme that Tom King brings up in a lot of his comics, which is is superheroing actually being a good person, or is it an obsession? Which is sort of touched on in this one with Gotham, who and his parents talking about him being obsessed, and they say sometimes obsessions can work. We hope so. And then it's clearly paralleled in Batman's obsession with the city also. Like, so is he actually a good guy, or is he just unable to let this go?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, if Gotham was the entire world, then I'm like, okay, it makes sense. But now it's just like, just leave this city. Why do you or like the thing that's missing for me, I think, with some of the Batman is like, why do you care about Gotham? Like, there's no, again, I always think, I mean, is Gotham supposed to be based on New York City? Because I just take it as New York City.
Yeah.
Like, at least New York, you have the moments where it's like, someone helps an old lady up the stairs, and you're like, New York. But there's like, no, you never see those nice moments in Gotham. So you're just like, why are you staying here? Move to Queens.
What a shithole.
I know. It's like one of those, like, there's a moment on the plane where there's a guy who's having a meltdown, and he's like, I should have left Gotham. I don't know why I thought it would ever end differently. We're in Gotham. This is how it ends in Gotham. I was like, that's really true.
Bruce stays in Gotham because of his his parents,
Yeah,
right?
it's obsession. Like it is. I
Okay.
mean, he really doesn't. I don't know. There's always this like line of could he stop if he wanted to, and it's hard to say that he could because he never does let it go. He never leaves of his own accord ever. So
And his parents were like helping fix the city before they died, right? Depending on the version.
yeah, that would depend entirely on the version. Theoretically, most of the time they are considered like philanthropists. His father was a doctor, so there's like a level of it, but they're also frequently depicted as idealists that really didn't do that much good for the city because they didn't understand the reality of how bad it was.
Okay.
So
Well,
there's a
I just
bit of
didn't know if
both.
there was like a part of like a legacy type thing where like he wants to honor
I
their
think there is.
legacy.
I think that is part of it, definitely. But
Okay.
yeah.
There's a part where he has a bike that comes out of his car, which
Yep.
splits in half.
How does that work? Was he sitting like that before? Did he move into that position? I'm so
I don't
confused.
know, but it gave
And
me
then the car goes back together, right? It like
Yeah.
reassembles.
yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the other part of the vehicles in this comic are so funny to me. I mean, the comic is kind of self-aware, even that Duke Thomas comments on it, but the fact that he keeps using his Batmobile as a weapon and like just destroying them like
He's
over and
rich.
over, he just
Do
keeps
they
it.
do they ever confront in the books, now our view of like rich people has
Yeah.
changed. It's no longer like, oh wow, you're a genius, that's why you're so rich. Like, do they ever go like, well, maybe Bruce Wayne should be taxed a little more? Like, it's kind of insane how
Yeah.
much money he has.
Yeah, not I don't know. There certainly are characters that will bring this up. There are people that argue with him about it. I don't know that the Batman comics overall have ever taken an anti-capitalist stance because that would be a wild thing if DC actually allowed that to happen. I would be very impressed.
I would love if one of the villains was like Bernie Sanders and Batman was like, we got to stop this guy. And I was like, why? He's just a nice old Jewish man. And he's like, no, he's the biggest villain of them all. Socialism.
Yeah, we basically played one of the Batman video games where one of the villains' points were basically that, and the whole time
Oh my
TJ and I were
God.
like, "Yeah, that's fair." Like,
Right.
That
I
is
mean,
so
going off
funny.
of what both of you are saying, and we might have talked about this before, Chris, but
Mm.
the fact that Bruce Wayne is a billionaire, but
Yeah.
he uses his money to dress up as a bat and
It's
ride
true.
around Gotham, where while he could be donating all this money to just
Yeah,
help people.
there are versions of the character too where they actually do address that, where he is doing that behind the scenes, but it's very unusual for that to be something they bring up. I think they just assume that you assume he's doing that, which why would you if it's never on the page? But oftentimes when somebody else takes over the company, they do a lot better with it. So Tim Drake, I had to mention him once per episode, of course, takes over the company and does a lot of actual good with the money. And you're like, oh, hey, this could have happened the whole time.
Well,
Yeah, like
as
all of Gotham's problems go away. It was in
Yeah.
fact a real economic disparity that led to supervillains getting born.
Yeah, honestly.
and as confirmed by the Lego Batman movie, Bruce Wayne does not pay his taxes.
Yes. There's no way.
And then Bruce knows, or did you guys think that Bruce knew Gotham was the kid he saved back then?
I didn't realize. I mean, Gotham was trying to tell him, and then he already knew because Batman. Which, because I actually did enjoy this volume a lot, but my one real criticism of it was that we never see him solve anything. He just has the answers.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he knew that was Gotham, that little
Yeah,
boy?
he says it. He calls
Yeah.
him Hank at one point.
Okay, well, so before he calls him Hank, he
Oh.
just says something about like being brave. Like he like reiterates a line he had said to him as a kid.
Yeah.
To like kind of tell him he knew, but didn't like say it outright. I thought it was a good moment.
No, I did too. I like that moment a lot.
And then he gets mind controlled. Gotham gets,
Yeah.
Now, wait, so they do not clarify how these two got their power. They went somewhere, they did some work, and they came
Right.
back so powerful. We're about to see them
right.
destroy the
They got
Justice League.
money
They
from their
bought it.
father.
They bought it from who? We don't know. I don't know because I haven't read too much further into this run. I don't know if they ever do clarify who they bought powers from, because that's like a wild premise, right? That you could just go and buy like designer superpowers. But
Yeah, once again, there's financial questions that come up that like, could that money have been used to a better place?
Right.
almost definitely, right? Like,
And like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but so we have Bruce Wayne and then we have these two that both use their money to become superheroes, but in very different ways. Bruce Wayne, just makes gadgets and is a normal man, whereas these two have used the money to actually become gods.
yeah, this was a kind of interesting line where they finally, I think it's the sister, finally explains the deal, which by the way, I know that they went and bought this, but did this not sound like a crossroads deal with the devil, or was it just me where they're like,
oh yeah,
you can live a normal life for decades, you can live a superhero life for years, or you can live like a god for hours. And I was like, what is this game of would you rather that we're playing?
Yeah, I thought that reveal was interesting. Like,
Was
if you're gonna, there's like that rule that all magic comes at a price. Not that this is magic, but you can't make
magic.
you can't make someone too powerful and then just not give them any limits. So I thought this was a good way to balance out their power.
Yeah, I agree. It certainly was interesting. It certainly plays into the theme of obsession that is happening, what these kids are willing to give up for this. And that Gotham genuinely thought he could solve it in a few days, I guess, or maybe he was counting on the few years. I'm not really sure, but he thought he could solve Gotham like a puzzle in a few days or years and bet everything on that.
Like, I feel like they want us to think, oh, that's so noble that you'll give up your life for just a couple years of helping people. But again, like Gianmarco said, that money could have been used to do something else. But yeah, this is the point in the story for me where it kind of went off the rails. Once Gotham got possessed, basically
By Psycho Pirate. We
by
can't
Psycho
run
Pirate.
past that.
I just felt like it lost all. I don't know. I don't know. What did you guys think?
Yeah, it almost felt unnecessary. Like, it would have been better, I think, if some way he had saved people. He realized, he had crushed a nursery or something. Like, they add this element of someone else totally, because like his response is because he killed all these people partially, right?
No, I thought that too at first, but no, he killed all those people because of the pirate, or the Psycho Pirate guy possessed him. And okay, I actually could use some help untangling this part. He thought that one of the soldiers had killed his parents. But
no, they did kill it. So what happened?
They didn't, though. It was one of the mob guys that killed his parents. We see that it's in one of the scenes where they, and honestly, I don't know. I only picked this up because I know the guy's name, but it's the Malone guy that kills them.
No, that was Bruce. Malone.
What are you talking about?
So you're talking about the guy that went to talk to the parents?
Was that Bruce?
That was Bruce wearing a mustache.
Are you sure?
I swear to God.
TJ, I don't think so.
Funny.
I swear.
If the mustache fooled you, that's so funny.
No, because it shows him taking the mustache off when he gets in the car and he's talking to Alfred.
Why did he use the name of the mob boss? That's so weird.
Right.
Well, no,
that is so funny.
Yeah, to my understanding, Gotham was possessed by a Psycho Pirate. He killed all those people, but one of them lived, and he didn't realize it. So the one that lived may have also been partially possessed and went to kill his parents out of revenge. We
don't see them die, right?
No, exactly. It's very convoluted. It's an info dump where Batman shows up and like the parents are already dead. And it's like I had to read that part 3 times.
I'm glad it wasn't just confusing to me. I thought I knew what was going on, but apparently I'm totally wrong.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair to be confused there.
So Amanda Waller had his parents killed? Why?
No, she didn't. One of her men did it out of revenge, but she wasn't behind it, supposedly.
Okay.
We can't actually trust her.
We can neither confirm or deny.
Do not trust this fugly bitch.
Mean Girls reference
That
of
was
the
a Mean
episode.
Girls reference.
Yeah, Amanda Waller, man, this villain, honestly. I
Yeah, she would have been a better villain, but she just wasn't done well here.
no.
Maybe she does better in the next book, but I don't think I'm gonna read that one.
Really? You were like really over it, which is so funny because
I
you sent me a
know.
message yesterday saying that you loved it, and now I'm very confused.
I'm telling you, once I hit this point, this halfway mark, I was like, what just happened? But yeah, the transition to his parents being murdered was confusing. It was a sudden cut, and then lots of info dumping from Batman. Didn't
Yeah.
work for me.
I don't know what happened. I got very confused apparently.
I thought the Fall from Grace story for Gotham could have been good, but we barely knew him, and the fact that they muddled it with his mind being controlled kind of
Right.
it took away part of the
Right. I
tragedy of it.
wondered about that. Like why did they do that? It would almost make more sense if this was an existing character and they wanted to do this story, but we have no connection to Gotham. He's made up for this comic. So why not have him actually go crazy or actually
Yeah.
maybe even have his powers that he bought not work and then he loses his mind because of that?
Ooh,
Why
I like
introduce
that.
right? Like that seems reasonable. Why introduce this D-list villain, Psycho Pirate, which is, by the way, we haven't said it yet. That is the worst supervillain name I've ever heard in my life. And that's in a comic with Colonel Blimp, but I still think that's a better name than Psycho Pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too powerful. Like if that's his power, then he should win.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's crazy. So we're leading to this Justice League show up,
Yes.
which is wild to me. Because this is my problem with like all the comic book worlds, I think, where like I call it do you know Dragon Ball Z at all?
Yes, I love Dragon Ball Z.
So I've always wanted to like make a title to this. Maybe people have already done this. With Dragon Ball Z, it's like once Super Saiyan was introduced, when you introduce characters that are so powerful that they become like the most powerful in the world, like that's the end. Because you then what do? Then it's Super Saiyan 2, and then you lose all these other smaller characters because you've just made everyone too powerful. So when the Justice League shows up, I'm like, oh, it should be over. I mean, Superman is supposed. First of all, why aren't they there all the time? Why is Superman busy sometimes? Why do they just? You always have to come with a million reasons that why they're not showing up until this one moment.
I loved this too.
Then this new guy destroys them.
Right. I love this bit too, because that goes back to how entertained I was that Superman has an automated messaging system where they call him originally and he's not answering. So he's somewhere. We don't ever get any clarification on where, just not here. And then in this scene, Batman's acting like it's such a big deal that he's calling the Justice League. He's like, get on the bat line. And Alfred's like, well, you've never done this before. And I'm like, what do you mean he's never done this before? He's done this about 20 times before. What are you talking about?
Not in this continuity.
Oh, you're okay, fair.
But to be fair to Gianmarco, I feel like you're saying, why is Superman busy? What's he doing? And Bruce has that same question.
Right. Yeah, Bruce is like, we are best friends.
Yeah, you should
maybe
have time
in love.
for me. Yeah, what's
you
more
never
important?
make time for our relationship anymore.
I love Superman's like, I'm sorry, I was helping my friend move. And
Yeah, he's like, Wonder Woman was moving apartments. She wanted me to carry stuff. We were carrying stuff together. That's why we showed up so late.
Lost track of the invisible jet. It was a whole thing.
Couldn't find it. I mean, I can fly, but I was helping her find it. I forgot to charge my phone, so I didn't get your message. It was like a whole confusion. I don't even know.
Can we get back to shit talking the villains?
So
Hugo and Pirate Dude, Psycho Pirate. They were stupid because we didn't know their motives. They were just evil.
Their motives are controlled by Amanda Waller. That was their motives.
But she's like, oh, they went off mission and started doing all this shit. And
then the whole thing is that Hugo Strange is selling Psycho Pirate to another villain.
But that was like on the very last page of this book, and it was bullshit.
You're right. When you're pointing out these flaws, I can see why you didn't like it. I was just having so much fun with Alfred being salvage and, Duke Thomas being over everything that I liked it.
Right. Like, not to shit on your parade, but I also found stuff I liked here, but I just have a lot of problems with the narrative and like writing choices. Like it just could have been so much better.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like as we've been reading a lot of dark comics, of the like the grim dark Batman comics, I was happy to get back to a regular just Batman case that I enjoyed it more than maybe I would have otherwise.
Yeah. Can we talk about Alfred wearing a bat suit?
That was so funny. I don't understand why it was necessary, but I was very entertained. It like does not hide the fact that he has this mustache, that he's clearly too skinny for this costume, and he shows up and the kid's like, no.
And this is the part where he's talking to himself to quote
Yes.
Thomas, but
Yes.
it's Bruce's dad, not Duke.
Not Duke Thomas, confusingly.
That was another part I had to reread 3 times.
That was the part I was confused by too, because he had just been talking to Duke Thomas, which they call him Thomas all the time in this comic, which is also weird. Why does Batman call him Mr. Thomas? He doesn't do that with any of the other kid sidekicks.
But again, why was Bruce training Duke and then sent Alfred out in the bat suit? Why not Duke?
I don't know. There was like it obviously was I don't even know what the plan was. He was supposed to distract him for a minute. What was the plan? I was very confused. Because
Yeah,
he just gets there and then Bruce is there. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just wait for Bruce to get there then?
Yeah, this dude could have destroyed Alfred.
He could have. Poor
Um,
Alfred.
And then that's when we get the Justice League coming in.
Yeah.
And of course, when they first showed up, I was like, well, I hate this because I wanted to see Bruce beating him. But then, of course, he beats the Justice League like right away.
Right. Which was
So I
very funny.
Yeah,
I
was
I
fine
like
with
that.
it.
I love this bit where Superman is like very possessive of Batman. He's like, we're his friends. Who are you? Calm down, Clark. We also, I feel like I need to shout this out. We get a cameo of my favorite Green Lanterns, which are Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, just in the background. But I love those two so much.
Oh, I have no idea who those are.
We'll have to read there's a crossover with them and Batman that's really good. We'll have to read that at some point.
And this climatic scene is also where we get that "you can't save Gotham, I know" bit, and I liked that part. I don't know about you guys.
I liked
Yeah,
it. It's complicated.
yeah, this is more, this is the religion stuff where it's just like, it's all suffering, I know, but I do it because
Yeah.
Right. It's like a
dot.
faith thing. He has
Yeah.
faith in the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or kind of, or he doesn't feel like he can't do it. I don't know, because he doesn't exactly have faith that it's going to work. So
I feel like like I said earlier, I feel like he knows it's something it's something you make progress towards, but it's not something you're ever going to completely get to.
maybe
Kind of like racism and writing out all your black characters.
Sure, but it's the same thing where it's like, well, can you show me any progress? Like, it
Right.
just feels like there's just no progress at all. The
Yeah,
moment you do something, another plane is going down. It's like, where's a moment of joy?
Yeah, he has to go to Metropolis to get that. It's not, you can't find it in Gotham. They don't have that there.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I feel like I don't know, I feel like other Batman stories have more of those quiet moments, more of those like this is what it's for moments than this one does. And a little bit that might be because we're at the end of one writer's run and at the beginning of a new one. So it might be a little bit transition that's happening where it's just
Sure.
like the sandwich problem of where, because this is a contained story, right? But it launches into more of an arc late afterward with Amanda Waller. But this is like a tiny contained story to transition you over, I guess. But yeah, I don't
Mhm.
know. I agree. There's definitely that problem with
What
Batman.
about all the hokey, he's so brave, she's so brave shit going on at the end? That was too much.
What was the point of that? I was very confused because Duke
Yeah.
Thomas is like, she's so brave, but then 5 seconds later, she fully loses her mind and becomes the person they're trying to stop. And I was like, wait.
They just say it so much at the end, and like it was effective when it was in the flashback and we had Bruce like reiterate it to
Yeah.
him. Like that was really good. But now at the end, I was like, we get it. We get it.
Yeah, it was not very well realized at the end. So what happens at the end is that she she is possessed too, but he got hit with like rage power and she got hit with fear power.
Wait, can I just say, I mean, maybe I'm adding my own comment. It really felt like, whoa, when a woman loses her mind, let me tell you what she does.
Right,
Shaves all her hair off,
I was
short like
gonna
a
say that
boy.
I was
It's
gonna
just
say
such
that
a
too.
yeah.
Yeah. The fact
It's
that he gets rage power and she gets the fear power is such a like distinct gender role thing that I was like, what's happening? Why is this happening?
it's like
That's a good
she
point.
shaves her head and starts wearing plaid.
She has a
Right.
2000
Lost her mind.
2000s Britney
Yeah,
experience.
she does.
Yes.
She really does. You're not wrong.
But right
I mean,
before that,
she's a hair away from just being like, so I did a thing.
yeah. So we get Batman saying, "I am Gotham." I thought that was a little hokey,
Okay,
but
this is the second time he's like, okay, I guess I'll just die. Like, it's just, why is that Batman's only go-to move is just, I guess I'll sacrifice myself now. I swear.
he's just done. He's just admitted he knows he can't win.
He's like, fine, go ahead and kill me. Batman, we've already done this once this volume. Calm down.
So right before we get Gotham Girl's complete breakdown, there's that last page of the issue before where she's holding her brother's body.
Yeah.
And there's narration from her from the future.
Yeah.
And it never comes back. It was so out of nowhere.
It was weird.
Absolutely hated it, and it raised so many questions.
I definitely read that part 3 times, or I was like,
me too.
What's happening? Oh, yeah.
So I'm assuming again that's something that's going to come up in a later volume, but why was it here? Why was it included on this page? It was odd.
It was weird.
Yeah, I think this is again my like not reading a lot of comic books where like there's so many, they just do everything to create a dramatic moment. And
yeah,
like that where they're like, oh, we'll do a from the future narration. And I think if why, like, you know, Hollywood has like been able to make so many movies out of this, but it's their job to somehow turn this into, because if this was live, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? How is this weird new voiceover introduced?
Right.
Oh, it'd be startling.
Is there enough, like Gotham, they'll never make a movie with the Gotham and Gotham Girl.
Oh, no.
No way.
These characters are not characters either. They're not, I mean, in that they don't come up again. It's not like this is something new introduced to the canon. They were absolutely plot fodder.
Right. Like if her narration had carried over into the last issue in this volume, I would have been more forgiving, but it just completely comes out of nowhere and then doesn't do anything. So like I was hoping we were going to have a final issue set in that future, or maybe like going back and forth, or at least in the present with that narration continuing. But no, it's just gone.
I meant to ask, what's the robot guy in the Justice League?
Cyborg?
Did he would he be able to survive that punch through the torso he received from Gotham?
I mean, I guess so, because he's not dead. So
I mean, like, I just thought like, oh, he's dead now. That's a huge hole in his torso.
I know. He's not dead in the Justice League. I'm pretty sure. So I think he must have survived it. I don't know. He's partially mechanical, so maybe he got punched through one of the mechanical bits and not one of the human bits.
Sure. That just seems like a very big hole. I mean, I would love it if Gotham, this minor character, just killed the whole Justice League. That's cool to me.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Like, okay, hear me out. He kills them all, and then they kill Batman, and then we get that alternate reality future issue where they're all dead. And then then we go back, of course, at some point.
Yeah, that would be a Tom King thing to do. That's not unlike him. So I don't know. Maybe we're getting to that. It's implied that he dies at some point in this run. That's what that future narration implies, anyway.
Yeah, Gotham Girl says she kills Bruce, and her and Duke get married, which I was kind of wondering if they were going to have a thing.
I know. That was one of the things I read more than once. I was like, say what now? I swear that doesn't happen.
Duke was trying, man.
Oh
And it was
yeah.
like,
No.
Duke, this is not cool. She's just been mind
Right?
altered from fucking Psycho Pirate, man. I don't
Right.
think you don't get to start dating her. I would
Dude.
super judge that if he was like, "This is my new girlfriend." I was like, "Yo, wasn't she just like fucked up
Yeah.
by Psycho Pirate?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, but
Let's sit down, Duke, and talk about consent for a
She's
second
she's
here.
she's brave though, so it's
Oh,
fine.
is it? Is that what makes it fine?
Yeah.
She's brave by some arbitrary metric we'd never get to see any reason to believe is true.
Yeah. But I cannot tell you how sad I am that this isn't the end of Gotham Girl. Like she obviously carries over into the next volume, and
Yeah.
that's what makes me say nope, ain't ever going there.
Aw.
But yeah, she has her little crusade here at the end, and there is that nice scene with her and Bruce on the rooftop.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about that?
I thought it was cute. I'm a sucker for Bruce using his words.
It
It
was
doesn't happen often, so I like it when it does.
I liked it, but I didn't know if I bought that he would reveal his identity to her.
I was like, at this point, does
yeah, I
anyone
hear
not
that.
know? Does anyone not know he's Bruce Wayne? I feel like he constantly is revealing his identity to people.
Bruce Wayne is also like super jacked. And it's just I just can't believe, like, if Jeff Bezos was like the mountain from Game of Thrones, and there was like a guy the size of the mountain just like stopping crime in the most expensive car in the entire world, I think people would put these things together.
I know. I know. Shout out to the TikTokers that have been pointing out the fact that he has a Wayne Tech logo on half of his equipment, and nobody's figured out that Bruce Wayne is behind it.
Well, like, so this girl is mentally unstable.
Mhm.
She just kind of almost sort of killed her brother to a degree.
Yeah.
He also contributed to that. Why in the hell would you tell her your identity? And
Right.
she's super
Yeah.
dangerous. Like,
And
It
her
was-
hair is short like a boy's. Like,
Yeah.
it's just chaos.
she's obviously nuts.
Honestly.
I don't know. I just didn't buy it. I was like, okay, like it was a good scene if you took it out of context.
I didn't understand why it was necessary to him talking her down. I was confused by that. I don't know.
Well, he said because she's gonna die if she keeps using her powers or something.
Yeah.
Remember they said that? They were like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I
that's
think
why
he
fucked her
he was
down.
showing her like, oh, I'm Bruce Wayne. I also lost my parents, and
But
you know.
could that, okay, again, they live in Gotham. He could have been anybody that lost his parents. That's everybody in Gotham.
Yeah, but when you put a face to it, it gets
Okay.
again, I get it, I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
But I think what prompts him to do this is Bruce asks Alfred, "How did you help me after my parents died?" And he said, "Bruce, you go out every night dressed up like a bat. Do you really think I helped you?"
Alfred is so savage. I love it.
That was almost maybe my favorite part in the entire book.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Honestly, fair.
And Chris, who were the D-lister villains you were talking about?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this, I love these two so much. I don't remember. I've never seen them before. I assume they are from the old runs of Batman that had the wildest characters in it. But we have Colonel Blimp and Captain Stingery, or it's not Stingray. It's like Stingery. I was
And
like,
then,
what? What are
we
these two?
Kite Man is at
And
the end.
Kite Man. I love Kite Man.
Yeah, this was my first time reading him in a book, and he uses his hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite thing. Because to catch people up who don't know, Kite Man is a comics character that comes up shockingly often considering how ridiculous he is. And his catchphrase is hell yeah, which is not a catchphrase. It's a thing lots of people say.
Yep. He's a kite and he's a man.
And he says hell yeah for no reason. It's so funny. So I think it is Tom King too. I'm pretty sure that gives Kite Man later on in the run a very dark backstory, and it's so funny to me. Apparently he was just like a regular villain in Gotham.
I just like
At one point, and he had like a life during the day where he had a son and he just like lived a normal life and then would go out doing crimes and heists and stuff. But he was supposed to go fly a kite with his son and he didn't because Joker. I don't it's really convoluted and unnecessary, but then like something horrible happens to his son and he decides to make the kite his like symbol.
Hmm.
I can't.
Convoluted, unnecessary, kind of like this book. Hey.
Oh, I know. I'm a bit of a Tom King defender because I love his Mr. Miracle, but this is not anything like that one.
I loved his Vision book over at
Yeah.
Marvel, but
Yeah.
you
I
know.
think you would like Mr. Miracle too. It's a good one. But this
I
was
would agree.
this was messy. His run does get better, TJ. I know this was a messy beginning, which I didn't totally remember that it was messy, but it does actually get better as he kind of settles into the role of being the main Batman writer.
Mhm.
It
Just
does.
kidding. So, what did you guys think of this book? Did you like it? And what would you rate it? 1 to 5 batarangs.
Having not a lot of experience with the Batman books, I'll give it a 3.5. I think it had some good moments of humor. And I'm just like, you get to say like one I am Gotham or Gotham is me per book. Once you go past that, I'm just like, all right, okay.
Are you suggesting that
What
Batman
are they?
Kicking Gotham in the face was not a subtle enough metaphor?
I just love like if they could name even more things after Gotham. Just like this guy's Gotham, this lake is Gotham. Oh, the water, it's poisoned, but you gotta drink it because you're thirsty. Like Gotham.
Maybe Gotham was the friends we made along the way.
They need a pet.
Yes,
like
yeah.
Gotham dog or something.
It's honestly shocking they
Yes.
don't have that already.
Chris, what's your rating? How are you feeling?
Oh gosh. So this is gonna sound because I've done is tear it apart, but I actually really had fun reading it. So even though it's a total mess, this is the kind of mess I enjoy. So I'm gonna give it a 4 batarang. I love it when he's solving his crimes and being ridiculous. So that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I almost went with a 3.52, but I didn't want to have to round up on Goodreads to a 4. So I went with a 3 out of 5 batarangs just because, like I said, I had a roller coaster journey. I really enjoyed it at a certain point, but by the end, I was just like, there's so much we could have done better. Are you guys
Yeah.
ready to hear my pitch of what would have made it better?
Yes, please.
So, should have been Bruce training Duke to be his sidekick, but then the Gotham siblings show up. They kind of take Duke's place, and he's jealous about it. They turn out to be bad, maybe go crazy slowly from their medical procedures to make them strong, and they go insane with power. And Bruce apologizes to Duke. Duke finally gets a costume and helps Bruce defeat Gotham Sibs. The theme being Batman can do anything, basically, if he trusts his partner and asks for help. They can even take down Superman-esque siblings together. But nope, we got this.
I like that. I like the
Right?
theme being ask for help.
And to be fair, he does ask for help at the end. But
he calls up his boyfriend in Metropolis.
yeah, I just wanted more Duke.
I did too. We're going to have to read one of the Duke runs. I think you'll enjoy.
For sure. Gianmarco, thank you so much for joining us. Where can our listeners find you on social media? And do you have any projects in the works they should be on the lookout for?
Well, no, everything's been canceled, but they can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Gianmarco Soresi. You can see my name in the show notes. Spell it. You won't write it down. So it's Gianmarco Soresi. And just, check out the special and another outdoor special for COVID-20, I guess. So stick around.
Thank you so much for coming on. And now it's time for Outsider of the Week, where we pick one of you who has done something to get our attention this week. Our outsider is Talking Lady Shiva on Twitter, who in 280 characters explained what is the deal with Lady Shiva. It was an amazing explanation, and you are officially an outsider.
Yay! You definitely impressed us. Props to you for being our first outsider of the week.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Maybe you'll get a prize. Let us know what you want that's free.
So join us over on our Twitter account if you want the chance to become an Outsider of the Week. Next time, we're going to be reading The Caped Crusade by Glenn Weldon with our special guest,
Stephen Leva, who is a Batman professor and author.
That's right. We have a Batcademic coming back again to talk about this book that explores the history of Batman. It talks about Batman and queerness and all kinds of really interesting elements. I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, I just finished reading it for the first time and I loved it so much. If you're looking for like a queer perspective on the entire history of Batman, you're going to want to read this book.
Yes, exactly. It's so much fun. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gotham Outsiders. You can find me, Chris, individually on Twitter at The Myth of Psyche, where I talk about queerness and feminism and pretty often Batman. You can also find me now on the new podcast Progressively Horrified with comics writers Jeremy Whitley and Ben Kahn. And TJ, where can they find you?
They can find me at TroyFin2 on Twitter, where I talk about all things book related and occasionally Batman related.
And you can find us both over on the Gotham Outsiders Twitter, at Gotham Outsiders on Twitter, where we talk about Batman all the time. Thanks for listening, and tune in next time. Same bat time, same bat place.